now it's time for Lefties Losing It. We're about to delve into the twisted world of Kamala's Veep pick. But first, remember when Ricky Gervais told the Hollywood elite to not preach about politics? No one cares about their warped views. But sadly, they didn't listen. Here is Hollywood A-lister, Kamala fanboy and lefty losing it, Ben Stiller.
And she's also a historic candidate. You know, it's going to be the first woman president. And that's incredibly exciting. And, you know, she's Indian, she's Black, she's everything. You can be more than one thing. It's incredible. You know, I'm Jewish and Irish. I wish I was Black. Every white Jewish guy wishes he was Black.
A Jewish comic blindly following a party with an anti-Semitic problem that runs so deep that Kamala didn't pick the, well, pretty much universally acknowledged best candidate, Josh Shapiro, who could have helped her secure the crucial state of Pennsylvania, where he is governor with a 60% approval rating. But he's Jewish, and that is a problem for the Democrats, one that even CNN acknowledged.
Pennsylvania's Governor Josh Shapiro is being discussed as one of Harris's potential running mates. He also endorsed her tonight. In your view, what are the pros and cons for putting him on the ticket?
Well, he's certainly under consideration. I know that from key Harris allies. He's a first-term governor. He's Jewish. There could be some risks in putting him on the ticket.
And right he was. It's clear that the squad, the Hamas wing of the party, is calling the shots. And did you notice Walz was not even on that list that they had up there? He wasn't one of the likely candidates. Even CNN thought he was too much of a socialist simpleton to be considered. Talking about simpletons, let's get back to Ben Stiller embarrassing himself.
I just want to let you know I'm going to match your $150,000 donation. Everybody's got to get out and vote and donate. Get out there and vote and donate and like take advantage. This is such an important time right now, and this wave of energy that's happening, we got to keep going with it. So please do everything you can.
Yes, Ben Stiller has gone full Kamala. Never go full Kamala. Why didn't you just listen to Ricky Gervais? His advice was sage.
Don't use it as a platform to make a political speech, right? You're in no position to lecture the public about anything. You know nothing about the real world. Most of you spent less time in school than Greta Thunberg.
He told them, now to Kamala Harris, the media spin is in full swing from the Democrats' propaganda arm, but we keep unearthing the real Kamala.
And as a woman, there's a balance to be struck between being tough and being Turn that off.
She's so likeable, isn't she? Talking about likeable, let's take a look at Kamala's running mate, the man she has chosen to be the next vice president. And her campaign released this totally real and authentic video of that historic moment.
Hi, this is Tim.
It's Kamala Harris. Good morning, Governor.
Good morning, Madam Vice President.
Listen, I want you to do this with me. Let's do this together. Would you be my running mate and let's get this thing on the road?
I would be honored, Madam Vice President.
You understand our country. You have dedicated yourself to our country.
He understands the country, the socialist governor of Minnesota, the man who put tampons in boys' restrooms in schools, who wants to allow teens and tweens to access medical transitioning of their gender, who backed the BLM riots even as they destroyed Minneapolis and beyond, and who changed Minnesota's flag to look a lot like the Somali flag, but they swear that's just a coincidence. Minnesota is home to the largest Somali population in the US, another coincidence obviously. And this is also the man who has pledged to provide massive ladders so illegal immigrants can climb any wall that Trump may build.
You know, he talks about this wall. I always say, let me know how high it is. If it's 25 feet, then I'll invest in the 30-foot ladder factory. That's not how you stop this.
And he's the mayor who compares the dangerous, failed doctrine of socialism to being neighbourly.
But we can get out there, reach out, make the case. And for one thing, don't ever shy away from our progressive values. One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness.
Here he is celebrating giving illegal immigrants driver's licenses.
It's done.
A
packed room at the St. Paul Armory erupted after the governor's signature made driver's license for all the law of the land.
And behind every male lefty losing it is an even loopier woman losing it. And here is Mrs. Gwen Waltz saying that criminals should be given as many chances as they need.
Having a chance every day. Like, how many chances do you get? My answer to that is as many chances as you need, which doesn't really please those law and order people.
Yes, those awful law and order people who want to put criminals in jail while your husband back those who want to defund the police. Now, I cannot wait to get my next guest's insights into the Harris-Walz team. I can tell you I've been praying she'd pick Walz. I didn't think she'd be that foolish, but here we are. Kamala Harris has picked the radically left Minnesota governor who encouraged and supported the BLM riots, even as Minneapolis was turned into a hellscape. Just look at the damage. And while Walz encouraged the protesters, Kamala was raising bail money for the lawless thugs. What a team the Democrats have put together. Joining me now is journalist and documentary filmmaker Ami Horowitz. Ami, what is your verdict of Harris's running mate? The smart money was on the Pennsylvania governor, but sadly the modern Democrats have a growing anti-Semitism problem, and that looks to be the main reason he was overlooked.
Yeah, as you can imagine, I may have a thought or two on this particular topic. Look, I like Josh Shapiro. I think Josh Shapiro is a very talented politician. Look, it helped that he won because the Republicans put on a full-on crazy person against them. But look, he actually is very talented at what he does and actually balances out Kamala's complete and total political incompetence. I think that would have been obviously an amazing pick. But it was more shocking that they didn't pick him than she picked Tim Walz. Look, the whole game is Pennsylvania, right? That's the game. That's the whole game. Nate Silver said that if you win Pennsylvania, there's an over 90% chance you'll win the election. They had a chance to choose the governor of Pennsylvania, who, by the way, has a 61% approval rating inside the state.
Yes.
They didn't do it. Why didn't they do it? Could it be he's a Jew? I don't know. I think that the anti-Semitism of the Democratic Party has now manifested itself into a place that's going to cost them the election. This is not me saying it. This is Jared Moskowitz saying it, Democratic congressperson. This is Debbie Wasserman Schultz saying it. This is the ever handsome Jake Auchincloss saying it. These are Democratic congresspeople who are saying he wasn't picked because he was a Jew. And guess what, Rita? It's going to cost them the election.
Well, I can understand why Kamala would have wanted to avoid a civil war within the party. They've got the Democrats' National Convention coming up, and you would see protests there, no doubt, if Shapiro was her running mate. And it seems that the cowardice has taken over the party. They are allowing these radical elements to call the shots, even after the humiliation that Josh Shapiro put himself through over the last week or so, Ami, where he seemed to be grovelling to the anti-Israeli forces within the party. It wasn't enough. Is this going to be a red pill moment for the Jewish community in the States, the majority of whom have traditionally backed the Democrats? But as you said, it's hard to deny that this decision was motivated by anything other than the fact that Shapiro is Jewish, he's proud to be Jewish, he's been pro-Israel, he's served in the IDF, and all of that seems to be unacceptable to elements of the modern Democrats.
Yeah, look, I would love to say that this is what, in the way you put it, a red pill moment for Jews in this country. Unfortunately, I can guarantee you it will not be the case. Look, I think Trump will actually garner a larger percentage of the vote, of the Jewish vote, than any Republican since Reagan, maybe even beat Reagan, as he has done, by the way, with other historical Democratic constituencies like the Black community and the Hispanic community, because the issues that Jews care about are, guess what? The same issues that American cares about. Jews care about inflation, immigration. They care about the economy. But also they care about Israel, which has never really been believe it or not, Israel has not been a top 10 Jewish issue for many, many years, not top 10. But October 7th changed that a little bit. So I think he will make progress in the Jewish vote, but not a massively significant vote, not like what Trump had done with the Hispanic community.
Now, the hard left of the party are rejoicing. Ilhan Omar was among the first to endorse Walz's selection. She's posted this. She was very, very happy with that selection indeed. And the first squad member to lose a primary, Jamal Bowman, well, he's back smiling again and celebrating Walz's selection.
It's Waltz, baby. Let's go. Tim Waltz in the building. Time to win in November, y'all. Let's go. All hands on deck. No staying at home. Let's go.
Now, Ami, you said this decision could cost Harris the election. Others say that the VP pick is almost irrelevant. Do you think this one would have been a deciding factor? Obviously, Pennsylvania is crucial, but could it cost her some of those states where there are large Muslim populations that are not very happy with someone who is pro-Israel?
Yeah, first of all, I got to hire Jamal Bowman to be my hype man. That guy knows how to bring it when it comes to. So I'm a big fan of, at least, I'm not a big fan of his politics and him as a congressman, but a big fan is how he expresses himself when he supports somebody. Yeah, like I said before, I think, no, usually the VP pick will not win you an election, but the VP can cost you an election. And I think this might be one of the weird things where it's not who he picked, but again, it was who he didn't pick. But look, they're going to have a problem with Tim Walz and the exposure of his politics. This was a massive unforced error. It really did tip the hand of Kamala's radicalism because, look, everyone thought, like you did and I did when we went to sleep, that she was going to pick somebody moderate to balance out the Republican attacks on her being a radical, but she doubled down on that radicalism. I think that was a massive mistake. Look, when Bernie Sanders supports you and Jamal Bowman and Ilhan Omar, I think you may have a problem, right? I think that might be a bad sign as to where things are headed electorally. Look, Tim Walz is a problem. I can go through it. I don't want to spend too much time going through the issues he's got, but I'll go through a few of them and make a couple of notes. I mean, this is a guy who signed 104 executive orders during COVID. That when the riots, when they were burning down his city, he said, this represents decades of pain and anguish, essentially saying, excusing the riots. When immigration is the single largest issue or the second largest issue in our country today, he wanted to issue driver's license to illegal immigrants. This is a problem. But I'll tell you one personal story about me in Minnesota. And by the way, not to mention the fact they picked a guy who's the governor of a state that the Republicans haven't won in 50 years, right? This is not a purple state. Yeah. But when I was in Minneapolis during the riots, let me tell you what I saw. I saw a city burning down and the police doing nothing, standing around watching the city burn. But, Rita, when I was walking around during the daytime, when the riots, because the riots were happening at night, and I wasn't wearing a mask, I didn't wear a mask outside because I'm not a stupid person. You know what? The police came right up to me and said, hey, man, you got to put your mask on. That represents Tim Walz right there in a nutshell.
Yeah, his COVID era policies are another way they can attack him. But my gosh, there are so many areas, the trans policies, you mentioned illegal immigration. He's all over the shop, but he's been one of these Democrats who's been pushing the JD Vance is weird line. He made a reference to it in his first speech as the rival vice presidential candidate.
You know it, you feel it. These guys are creepy, and yes, just weird as hell. That's what you see. That's what you see.
How effective is that line, Ami? Because as we've discussed, this is a man who put tampons in boys' bathrooms in schools across this state and supports a whole bunch of radical fringe-dwelling policies. Is he in any position to be calling anyone else weird?
No, it's not very effective. Look, I'm not the biggest fan of JD Vance as a vice presidential pick. I think he was okay. I'm not a huge fan of a number of his populist economic policies, his pseudo-isolationism. But let's see, he's weird. Okay, he was a Marine. He was a successful entrepreneur. He came from a completely underprivileged, oppressed background to go to Yale. Is that weird? Yeah, I don't know if that's weird. I think people should emulate that. But let me tell you, Rita, what is weird. What's weird is when you're on MSNBC and somebody says that, you know what he really wants? What J.D. Vance wants when he's talking about cat ladies and neonatalism, he wants white babies. Really? A man who is married to a brown woman who has 3 brown kids. Yeah, he's pushing for white babies. You know what, Rita? That's weird.
That is weird, and J.D. Vance himself has responded to the left's collective attempts to smear him as weird, and he's pointed the finger right back at them.
It's funny. It's like the people who call me weird want to give like hormone therapies and sterilize 9-year-olds. Like I think it's a lot weirder than me just like living a normal life with my kids and my wife. But this is what they do. I think is they latch onto a message and they try to sell it even if it's fake.
He makes an excellent point there, because you look at his family life, you look at, he seems to be one of the few politicians who seems to actually have a happy, healthy marriage, 3 beautiful children. And like you just explained, he lived the American dream, come from nothing to be successful. I think those attacks are eventually going to backfire once this Kamala honeymoon is over. Ami Horowitz, thank you so much for your time this evening.
Always a pleasure.